woman protagonist and to actually a risky film.
Me and DQ were actually thinking, what the hell is happening? He was like, I've never had a...
It's an expensive film, especially for Malayalam. I think people see the number 30 crores as, there's discussion about how small the budget is, but for Malayalam that is
huge.
A huge budget.
Yeah.
I've never tasted success like this with any of the releases that I've had.
Yeah.
So this has been like, what?
When Kalyani came in, she was like, let's keep the long hair, because at least one trait of the...
And Naslin as a performer, I mean, also because I'm an actor, I was fascinated. So it's very tongue-in-cheek. So I think sometimes our equation is that he's on the side of fun and I'm on the side of...
Darling, mobile ulagin superstar.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.
Mr. Gold Sunflower Oil. Alavilum, Tarathilum, no compromise.
Hello everyone, I'm delighted to have with me Dominic Arun, the director of Loka, and Santhy Balachandran, the co-writer.
I think I worked on more than the writing, so that is why we added the dramaturgy credit. But I think it would have been easier for people to probably understand if we had just given a co-writer credit. I don't know.
No, I mean, basically you worked on the writing fully.
Yeah, from the beginning.
It
was Dominic's original idea that, what if there were supernatural beings that lived amongst us? And he started developing it, and then we've had a very good working equation from the time of Tarangam. So then we started discussing things together.
We had another friend also who was initially
and
part of the writing, he's still part of the writing team. But then we needed, because we were telling a story about a female protagonist, we felt like there should be a strong feminist angle that should naturally come with the film. So that's where Shanti comes into play. And she's made sure that everything is perfect in that sense.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because there are going to be spoilers here, so in case you haven't watched Loka, do watch it and then come back to this conversation because it's a very, very interesting film and that's what you're going to be talking about. But why can't men write feminist movies?
I was there. No, after all, I'm a man, my thought process is going to be, it's going to be like, I don't know, I just wanted it to be perfect in every sense with the characterization of Chandra.
Okay.
So I see when you write a scene, I just make sure that everything lands properly in the scene, the humor, the what the characters are going through, everything. But then still, I need to consult with Shanti if everything is just fine. Just have a run through these scenes to see if everything is perfect. So she's a great help in that she's got a good understanding of characterization and how people's emotions travel through cinema. So it was a great help to have her on board in that sense.
This is, I'm so happy for you, first of all, let me say this, because very, very few films shine a light on the people who were also involved in the creation of that world, mainly because the writing is so important, the creation of the world is so important, the dramaturgy is so important but it always becomes written and directed by the director, which is fine, but to see your name up in block letters, below the director's name is fantastic.
I think I've been very lucky to have the kind of collaborative equation I have with Dominic. Because even though he says, that I don't think I could have given a woman's perspective. I mean, that's fair because I have the lived experience of being a woman. Plus, I have academic training in the social sciences. So I understand that the perspectives I bring are different. But the choice he made to include me and make me a collaborator, that has made the difference.
Yeah.
So it would have still been an interesting, fun, entertaining film. But the fact that he saw scope for the layers that I was keen on adding and that he gave me the space to express myself freely and to have these discussions and to incorporate them made all the difference. So I really feel that it's not just about the fact that there's a woman's perspective, it's the fact that there was a male director who, was such an ally. I think this film in its totality is a great example of allyship, whether it's Dulquer Salmaan choosing to produce a film with a woman protagonist and to actually a risky film. We didn't know.
And it's an expensive film.
It's an expensive film, especially especially for Malayalam. I think people see the number 30 crores as, like there's discussion about how small the budget is, but for Malayalam that is
huge.
a huge budget. And to actually back a project like this, take that risk, and to tell the story of a woman at its heart. So the producer, the faith that he showed, the director, the choice that he made to include a woman in the writing, and the fact that Naslin, who's an upcoming young superstar, chose to do a film where he's not front and center. All of these are, I think, prime examples of allyship. And like we talk about women breaking glass ceilings, that will not happen if there aren't men to support them in that journey. And I think the fact that they've used their social capital and capital to actually make this happen is just such a great example of solidarity.
That's fantastic. And so, can you give me an example, or you give me an example of one? Let's say he's got the overall, like the one line. Let's say for the loose term. Can you give an example of something that you added? I'm sure there are many, but like a couple just to say.
I think Kathanar, I think. So when we go to the backstory, so the traditional story, of course, is that the Yakshi was, the word in Malayalam is Talakkiga. Kathanar Talachu. Talakya essentially implies control, and the Yakshi myth really has to do with control of female sexuality, agency and power. So the idea of a priest, a male patriarchal figure, a religious figure coming in and converting Neeli into a good person did not really sit right with me. So when we were doing the...
We had a lot of arguments.
So that was what the original thing was?
The original story is...
Yeah, the original story about the one that is in the Aidihimala or the folklore is actually Kathanar taking control of Neeli.
Oh, so there's a man who controls something like a
sorcerer who comes and protects the population from this vengeful spirit. That's the traditional story.
So if we go with the typical way of treating that scene, it would be him turning her into a good person and asking her to do good things in life, that lead a good life basically. But Santhy was so adamant that this cannot be the way we are going to treat it, and she's the one who changed that bit into, I mean, in the present version, I think it's a dying mother who gives her that how to go on, move on in life.
I think she says something like, use your powers to free people like us or save people like us, something like that.
So this idea that her code of honor comes from a woman was extremely important to me personally. I know it could be a cliche. I'm sure there are lots of scenes in films where the mother is, but that is such an important...
But context is also important.
Yes,
so,
and it is the story of indigenous folk, right? So, and that's where it connects really. Chandra as a child, she survives the virus because she's supposed to have a clean, healthy body. And that is also why Nachiyappa survives the bite. But he has a clean body but not a clean mind. So he has grown up in a very patriarchal setting with a misogynist father, with a mother who has become a victim of patriarchy. So that's the worldview he has grown up with. Whereas by contrast, Chandra grows up in a very nurturing environment with parents who've given her love. She's connected to nature, like the wisdom of folk cultures. That is something she has grown with. So that is what, so it's your social conditioning also which decides whether you're a good person or whether you become a force for evil. And so that also kind of ties in. So I had great fun with characterizing Nachiyappa because that was the part where like I had like, he really gave me the space to figure out what Nachiyappa should say when he becomes a force for evil.
Right.
That whole bit where he talks about fear being the root of respect and, that turning into devotion. That's also a statement on how autocratic societies work, right? Like you embed fear in people and then that leads to respect and then to devotion. So I had a great time bouncing these ideas of each other, and we've had lots of disagreements. But we also go back 8 years, and there's a level of respect and trust that we have with each other that I think has helped us a lot in this process. Because even if we don't see eye to eye on something, after a point, if he sees that there was value in what I said, he will always, I know that he will always, make room for it. And similarly with me also, I think if there have been points where I've been too particular, and then he gives me a perspective that makes sense to me, because he's somebody who's very connected to the root of Kerala, because he's grown up in Kerala, he's lived there, he knows how young people think and talk, and so my perspectives are different because I've grown up all over India and abroad. So I feel like he really knows the pulse of the land. So there are times when I understand what he's saying also. In fact, I was joking because I recently did a web series called Nalar Sangam, Krishan's web series, and there's a line in it which is like...
that's just out, right?
That's just out. So it released concurrently, actually. So it's basically 5 thugs who go to a writer, and he's writing their life story, and he takes creative liberties and, makes up stuff. So one of the characters at one point is like, don't you think that's politically incorrect? And the writer says, do you want political correctness or fun? You can't have both. So it's very tongue-in-cheek. So I think sometimes our equation is that he's on the side of fun and I'm on the side of... I mean, obviously that it's not as binary as that, but it's like
goes back and forth.
Goes back and forth.
And I think that's a tug of war that I think everybody who watches movies kind of has. It's like sometimes you don't mind a bit of like something being a little politically incorrect because that you're getting the entertainment quotient, but then sometimes you're like, where does that line? And it's a little tug of war, I think, in everybody. Yeah. But before we proceed, what is your state of mind right now? Because you make Tarangam, and then so there's this new boy made a movie, whatever. Then like years pass, and then suddenly you've made this blockbuster, and everybody's talking about it, and people can't talking about it, and it's running full houses in Kerala, and it's beaten all these records, and like it's running well in Tamil Nadu, it's doing well in Telugu, I think, as well. Yeah. What's it like?
Now, I'm not very sure of how to feel right now, because I wasn't expecting anything like this. Because I knew that we are going to give something new to the audience. There is some freshness in our film. There is an element of experiment that's going in the film, but it is packed in a commercial way, I felt. So it might click with the audience. It might be a safe film, but it's a big budget. So I just want the producer to be happy at the end of the day. But this kind of response was massive. I was like feeling, me and DQ were actually thinking, what the hell is happening? And he was like, I've never had a response like this for any of the films I've acted in. This is even new to me. So I was like, we're both new to this. I've not had this feeling. I've never had this feeling. Yeah. So it's like strange to me, but it's happy. I'm trying to stay grounded. I know this is you are only as good as your last film. That's what B. Unikrishnan told me a few months back. And I feel that in today's scenario, that is true, very true. Yeah, so...
Okay, not to take this away from Lokah, but do you think that's true? I mean, you can stumble and make a good film again, right? Technically.
Yeah. But
that's not a thing. But you mean in the marketplace?
Oh, yeah.
You're only as good as your last film in the marketplace is what
exactly.
I guess he's talking about how we shouldn't let the success of one project go to your head.
And I just want to stay grounded.
Actually,
you cannot take anything for granted.
So how long were you carrying this in your head? And what was the original line like?
Because we had a couple of other scripts and ideas we were discussing.
Who's we?
I mean, me and her.
Oh, right, okay.
Me and her, we had a few other scripts and...
so this is like, after Tarangam, you're like, what do we do next, that stage?
Yeah, I think both of us were a bit... we went through this phase of not really having work, and we, even my career, I've done like one film every other year or something, and I've never tasted success like this with any of the releases that I've had. So this has been like what for me as well. But at that point, we were working on a few scripts, and those almost got greenlit and then did not pan out.
Because one was a big film with another big actor, and right when it was about to take off, this lockdown and COVID happened, and we couldn't do that film. Then we worked on a very small independent film.
Music video.
The other one. That was also almost on the verge of getting greenlit, and we were going to make that film. Then something happened, and we had to back out of that film. And after that, I go and meet Toby. Every now and then, because we are two people who came to the industry almost around the same time,
and he was also in Tarangam.
He was also in Tarangam. So we have discussions like, about depression and stuff like that. We discussed that. So it was like, he was shooting Tallumala, somewhere in, I think Talasheri or somewhere. So he asked me to come over, let's have a discussion or something. I went there. not discussing any stories or something. We were just talking randomly, and he was like, I think.
Two men talking about feelings.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I mean, he may not think of himself as a feminist, but he is a feminist in his actions.
So yeah, and then Toby was like, I think people are ready to accept crazy stuff like what you have in mind. My idea of cinema. So I think you should try something right now. It's the right time. From there, I was traveling back to Kochi, and I had my friend Jitan also with me, and we were like, I think we should do a vampire film, something like that. I mean, I had this idea in my mind. I wanted to do something with a vampire and connect it to the Yakshi myth in our this thing. So let's start with something like that, and then we slowly started developing the idea. And yeah, slowly, it was, at that point also, it was a small independent film because I didn't want, it's a female-centric film, it's going to be, we cannot afford a lot of budget for the film. So we thought very small, and the discussion started, and as soon as this, I think the most high I got while writing was connecting it to the folklore character. So that was a special feeling for me. That is when I thought that, okay, this could be something. We could just maybe open up a big whole world kind of stuff. So that's when Nimish came on board, and Nimish was like, this is not a small film. We cannot do this a small film. This is a big film. We have to do it.
Nimish being the cinematographer.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. So you said, I want to do a vampire film, and then connected to folklore, and that combination became this.
Yeah.
But just tell me a little bit about that folklore again. So the original Yakshi is somebody that is imprisoned by a man.
So basically, the Yakshi myth is that there is a vengeful spirit who's bloodthirsty because she's been betrayed in love. And there's like class and caste connotations all over because it's usually somebody from a disenfranchised community who becomes a Yakshi. And then Katanar, the figure of the priest, is somebody who comes to save the local population from her because she inhabits lonely areas and crossroads, and then she just attacks men. So we saw potential in turning that into somebody who was doing good,
what if she could be a protector?
Protector.
Was the first idea, I think.
Yeah.
Then the superhero angle slowly came from that.
Yeah, and I think, so we've kind of paid homage to this idea of the woman at the crossroads in the scene where Nachiyappa is introduced, which is why you see a girl in a white sari walking, and because the idea is that a lone woman is always either a threat to society or a threat to herself. You're either prey or predator. And in that scene, she's walking alone and she meets somebody who could be a protector, but instead has the makings of a predator. So I think it's fun to work in those layers connecting to the original myth. And this is a reinterpretation. So the original myth has been deconstructed and made to fit this world that we are creating.
Right. So one thing that really appealed to me above everything else is how Chandra, the protagonist, is portrayed as a very lonely person. And that vulnerability is something that I haven't seen in too many superhero movies. What does it mean to be somebody who's abnormal, right? Like not quote unquote normal, right? What does it mean to have powers, be immortal, and travel through centuries without being able to have proper relationships, without being able to settle anywhere, all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was something the movie brought out beautifully, because even in her initial interactions with Naslan or whatever, she's like, there's one part of her that wants to go and become friends with people who at least look her own age or whatever, but there's another part of her that's saying, okay, what's the use anyway? I'll have to pretty much push off somewhere else, kind of a thing. So I thought that layer was fantastic. Now, tell me how that came about.
See, I was always fascinated by this idea of immortality and immortal beings. So I've read a lot about that same stuff, and I've done a lot of research, basically reading and watching stuff. And there is this film called, I'm going to say that because there's a film called Man from Earth.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's one of the best written films I've ever seen.
Is it the 70s film?
No, I think it should be early 90s.
Okay.
Late 90s. So the base concept was about a man who has been traveling through ages, centuries. He's at least 10,000 years old. And the pain that he carries and the things that he's encountered throughout his life. It's just a room. That film is based in a room, and it's a conversation. I was so fascinated by that film. I thought that this is so great. we should do something like this. We should at least take this, because we have a lot of folklore characters in our place which could actually connect to the same idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where I picked it up from there. I mean, Man from Earth is one of my inspirations for Loka, for the character. And while we were writing, I was thinking that, oh, this woman should be super lonely. I mean, she would be carrying a lot of weight. She's never had a connection. Every connection that she's going to have is going to perish, and she's going to be lonely again. She's going to have a very difficult life. So immortality comes with a weight. I mean, yeah. So that was the idea. I mean, I wanted to explore that, and to explore that, I thought, see, when she sees Sunny for the first time, I love that. I love that sequence personally. It's one of my favorite scenes in the film. So it's like she's seeing somebody who she was connected to, she was in love with in a different time. She's seeing him again, and I love how Kalyani is and Naslin, both of them have played that scene. Like, she knows that it is not him, but he looks so much like him.
Yeah.
I could have a connection with him, but no. That's when she pulls the drape. So, yeah, I mean, it was fun to explore that area. Yeah.
And I like the fact that, there are two ways you could have written that. One is you show her seeing the picture, give the audience an image of the face, then show Naslin, which means the audience is immediately making the connection of, oh, this guy is reminding of her. But you choose not to do that.
Yeah.
That's a very nice choice, actually, because you initially think something else, but then when she shows him that daguerreotype type picture, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but that picture, that's when you make the, okay, that's what really, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah. Because I feel like let the audience work with it. I mean, let them think, let them be involved in the film.
Yeah.
Like, I've been very surprised with a lot of messages that come to me. I mean, I've been getting saying that they've found out small details. Oh, this is why she looked at him like this. This is why. So that is any filmmaker's dream, because you put in small details, you put in subtle references, you put in subtle details in the film. So they find all these and they connect all these, and then they get back to you. I'm like, this is so cool, because the way she looks at Naslin first time, they actually meet together in the auto. There is a moment of silence, and she looks at him for a brief pause and then tells him that, I understood that you're the guy who lives across. But what is that pause? So she seen him up close for the first time. So things like that. I mean, I was super excited to read those messages.
Yeah, for me, what I really like the color scheme there, because his name is Sunny.
Yeah.
He's a sunny personality. He's wearing all sunny jackets, yellow, color. That was all intentional, right? Yeah. And she's like this goth person with. Tell me about the red.
I think Dominic should talk about that, because
I was, as we started writing, I knew that red is going to be a color. Red and black is
the
going to
head,
be a color.
the streak of red in her hair, the jacket.
Yeah, the first version was totally different. I wanted her to be in a little more girl with a dragon tattoo kind of look. But then when Kalyani came in, she was like, let's keep the long hair, because at least one trait of the traditional Yakshi, let's just place that.
Yeah.
And then we had the idea of the long hair. And the streak, I think, was Nimish's idea. Let's put a little red streak in her hair also was Nimish's idea, I think.
I think it was great fun working with the costume department on this, like figuring out the looks. Like, we would keep sending images from Pinterest, and obviously, like, Nimish and Dominic have a very similar sense of aesthetics. And it's very fun for me to sit up, because this is not something, I mean, I know nothing about cinematography. I'm like a tech phobe. But to like watch them kind of figure things out, and how do you light this to achieve the effect that we intend, and how does this contribute to the mood of the film, to the atmosphere that you're creating, that's really exciting. And so the first time we worked with Nimish was on this music video which we did during the pandemic. It's called Oblivion, and we made it on a shoestring budget. So I wrote the concept and the script for that, and then he directed it, and Nimish came on board as the cinematographer, and Banglana production designer also collaborated on that. So that's when we realized that we had this chemistry between us there. I mean, I had fun writing that, because when you write for a music video, you can write anything you want. Like, it's not limited by the narrative structure of a film, right? So you can go to town with the ideas, and I really put in all the stuff that I'd learned from my anthropology and all of that. And it's easy to write, because you can write whatever you want, but the execution of it is the difficult part. And these guys just took it to another level. Like, I was so amazed to see how things kind of gelled between them and how they converted those words into images. So I think that's also what gave us like the confidence to tackle this.
And I think we had a lot of time for prep.
Yeah.
We took a lot of time prepping for the film. We went into detail this thing about how our locations are going to look, what colors the locations are going to have, what kind of costumes are every character going to wear, what colors are we going to give them. So we had a lot of prep time because Nimish was all involved with the writing. I mean, he was not writing, but he knew how each stage of writing was going, and he was already planning how the film is going to look like.
You had a big lookbook. And
we had a big lookbook, yeah. Because we wanted it to look like a comic book at the end of the day, and we wanted kids to enjoy the film. So let's give it a comic book feel. Let's not make it too dark and violent, and let it be a little colorful and playful at the same time. So yeah, I mean, and then Banglan, somebody like Banglan comes in, he takes it to another level because.
Absolutely.
And you know, we were just talking before the shoot and began, and you were saying that the actual shoot of Loka began around last Onam.
Yeah, last Onam.
And today this Onam, and it's a year exactly.
It's a
so
year.
it's like you know, this is a year of amazing
journey.
things for you.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of really magical to think of what has happened, the journey we've had. I mean, not just over the last 5 years, but the last 1 year with this incredible set of collaborators who came on board. I think one thing that's happened is that everybody who came on set and became part of the project really owned it. And for that, the biggest credit I give is to Dominic, because he's the sort of person who really holds space for everyone's ideas and thoughts. And the set, the shoot location, we had such a positive atmosphere. There were lots of men and women working together. There was a level of camaraderie that I've not experienced on other sets. And I think that made each person who worked on it really feel like it was their film. And that I feel like that love that all of the team
because
poured
I've
into.
always felt like cinema cannot be a one person thing. It's never like that. I mean, Prince always tells that it's always a collaborative effort. So whoever has come into this film, I mean, it's been magical for me. I mean, when I look at it, because it's Nimish, even if it's Nimish, Banglan who comes in, Jittu, the art director, Melvi who came with the costume for costumes, Chaman, the editor, Don, the sound designer, Jake Spija with this amazing background score. After they all came in, it's like, okay, this is now my film. It's kind of that. I mean, it was so magical to see. When we shot everything, I mean, we had a good reference for everything what we shot. I had a reference music in mind for what is going to happen here. And then we give it to Chaman, he twists, he turns it around, he gives a different perspective for the film. He made the film, the pace of the film changed when he edited, and I was like, okay, this is looking better. And then when it comes to Jake's, he's like, he elevates it to another level. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And I was having a fun time working with all these people, and it's not just my film, it's our film.
You know, speaking of the music, another thing that I really liked was, you know, when superhuman things happen on screen, the general tendency is to give big brassy scores, right? It's like you know, because that's what people, you know, we are used to. That's a tradition. But here there's also that undercurrent of sadness that comes through, like in many scenes, and even with the big score. That's really.
I think Jake's wanted to crack that first. That's the first thing that he wanted. He wants that emotional inner pain of Chandra to come somewhere in the score. So I think he took some time to crack it. Once he cracked that, then it was just
magical. Really, like, because the only time we see Chandra as a character portray emotions when she's a child. And that portion was so important for people to feel connected to Neeli as feel connected
Neeli/Chandra.
to Chandra as a character. And Durga, who's performed that sequence, has outdone anything I've ever seen.
That's the child artist.
The child artist. I mean, she's not just like great with her body and her movements. She's also like, you know, really conveyed the trauma the character goes through really well. And that is the root of the emotional layer in the film. And Jake's, and you know, he really wanted to make people feel intensely for the character in that sequence, so that you relate to her more later when you see her as this very stoic figure who's lived for centuries and who's seen it all and has become numb. And I think that sort of understanding that he brought with his music has helped the film immensely. That forest portion really, like, I cried when I first saw it because that portion I'd only heard separately. I'd not watched it with like the final edit, and I saw it on the big screen with the final music, and really like it's such a peak moment in that film. And I think as a director, I feel like Dominic also knows how to place these moments at the right spot in the narrative. Even in the second half, when the cameos appear, like how do you smartly place them in a way that elevates the graph of the film just when you feel that it might be dipping a little. And I think Chaman also has a lot to contribute in that.
The interval portion, the right before that scene, because it was not supposed to be
Intercut.
it was not intercut. It was just the linear backstory going in. But while we were shooting, me and Nimish, we felt like we could actually have an intercut portion. We could make this a little more interesting. Let's shoot accordingly, and we shot it. And then we shooting the rest of the film. At that time, Chaman gives me a call and he says, "I'm going to intercut these scenes." Okay, I'm like, okay, so he knows it. That's what I said. It was magical. Everything just fell into place. People contributing, everything was just magical in this film.
So we spoke about the music, right?
Yeah.
So just out of matter of curiosity, in your minds, what is the music that Chandra is listening to?
He had a reference song for that.
Because even before shoot, I used to send Kalyani these songs. I was just telling her this is going to be what she might be listening to. Even when you're walking, the pace of this song is your pace.
Yeah.
So I think there was this track from Logan. I think the title track from the film Logan.
The werewolf movie.
Yeah. I found it a very interesting.
Oh, that's a fantastic film.
Fantastic.
I love that film.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best superhero films.
Yeah.
So that's one track that I sent Kalyani and asked her to listen to that. And we even made. There is a song.
Yeah, there is a song that plays.
That plays. She's listening to that.
Yeah,
that's
at one point I think comes off and then we hear a bit of the song and then she puts it back in,
what
right?
was the name of the girl who wrote that?
Ziba.
So yeah, Ziba has done the lyrics for that. So that was also fun to like.
Oh, that's not an existing song.
No,
That's written
it's
for the
made
film.
for
that's
the
an
film.
original song.
So
It's made
we
for
had
film.
this idea of what should she be listening to. So we talked about how it could be about like this, idea of immortality and like living a long life and feeling disconnected. So this was like the concept we gave her, and she did a fantastic job with the lyrics. I think we should somehow at some point release that as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to, when you say that it was great fun being on the sets and all that.
Yeah.
I've heard this from Shyam Pushkaran as well. He says he's on the sets of the films that he writes, and he's able to make these small changes based on how the staging is and things like that. Is that common practice in all Malayalam films, or is it sometimes happens?
Sometimes happens, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's good to have the writer.
On the set.
on set all the time, because for me especially, because when we were shooting for Nachiyappa, I'm not very familiar with Tamil. I know Tamil, I can understand Tamil, and these small nuances and stuff like that. So I was really glad that she was always on set when we were shooting with Sandy. I think it's good to have the writer.
I really
on
had
set.
goosebumps when I saw Sandy perform first, because it was this character. I mean, it's the antagonist, but I was so attached to the character. And he just brought a level of menace to it, which really, we were like, oh my God, even if we don't show him a lot, he's still like a foreboding presence in the film, It's
so fun because he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And another thing is, what really was interesting about the structure of your film is the very nature of a superhero film means there is a super villain, right? It's like it's the yin and yang or whatever it is, right? So there's a super villain who can somehow squash the thing. But here, there isn't technically a super villain. They're of the same species in a sense. It's like, she gives birth to him in a sense. You know what I mean, right? It's like so you're not creating a super villain who's going to, it's almost like somebody that is, a bad guy. But you also give him some rules, like as in, because this is a fresh creation, the power that he has is much stronger than the power that Kalyani has, because she's much older, it goes back centuries or whatever it is. Those kinds of rules were fantastic. I mean, how did that thing come about?
Because I wanted this to be happening in a real world kind of feel, because we have enough bad guys amongst us. So we didn't have to bring a super villain in the first installment of the film.
Yeah.
I want them to appear in the upcoming films, but I think this film should have somebody from amongst us. We are bad enough.
Yeah.
I know we have bad enough people.
That's a great idea.
So
Yeah.
that was the idea, because we had a lot of arguments and discussions about this, because some of the collaborators, they felt like our villains should be a bit more stronger, bigger. I mean, I was like, no, I think this is the right way to
As
go.
opposed to a human.
Yeah.
Human.
Okay.
So I was I think for the first, this is a small opening. We're giving a small glimpse into the world. I think supervillains should come later on in the franchise. Now
And
it
even
should
with
be-
Chandra's character, she's like, I mean, the whole thing is, this is a segue into a different world, right? So she was a human who's become supernatural, and similarly the villain has also a parallel track. And like I mentioned earlier about, like, you know, the environment really affecting who you become and the choices you make. And this was also about like introducing the audience to this world in a small way, but it connects to larger themes that we are going to explore about like good versus evil. And like he said, it's important to ground it in a way as well. And I think that's what it does. Like, it gives it a very real world flavor, I think, to have characters who have problematic stances and how that can turn into like supervillainism later.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's going to connect later when we see other characters who appear in the story.
So is Sandy dead or not?
We're not saying anything.
So no, but any special reason for making him a policeman?
That was Dom.
Yeah, because it should be somebody. I mean, for me, I mean, as soon as you see a police officer,
You get
at night,
scared.
you get scared. I don't know why that happens, but there is a feeling that a policeman
We'll have a
gives.
separate talk about this.
So I wanted this guy to be a policeman because there is a general feeling about policemen that you see them, you actually get scared at night. So why should we be scared? They're actually meant to protect us. We should be feeling safe when you see them. So this was an idea we thought we could play around with while, I mean, as a villain, we could actually explore a little bit. And I think, yeah.
I mean, for me, the fact that he came up with this, like this idea of placing a policeman as a villain was great, because the way mine works is like, I'm like, oh, this could be a critique of authority, you know, like, so I feel like when he suggests these things, and then I see potential for like adding nuances and layers to that, and then he gets excited about it. So that's the sort of give and take that happens between us, which has been so fulfilling for me. Yeah, even though we disagree, you know, that's also part of the fun.
You have taken the vampire idea and you have taken the Yakshi idea. Now the Yakshis are vampires.
Yeah.
They are blood.
Same,
yeah,
similar.
So it's the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
It's a folk version. I mean, it's the folk equivalent of vampire myths from the West.
West.
Yeah.
Okay. So which means that they are blood sucking and they are immortal.
Yeah.
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 Okay. And they are afraid of light, all that is there.
No, not afraid of light, but they do inhabit the night.
The night.
Yeah.
So that idea of being destroyed by light, where did that come from?
I mean, that's from the
Vampire lore.
Vampire
Okay.
lore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the idea was, if you see a lot of traits, the Western idea of vampire and our idea of the Yakshi is almost similar. But then we thought we'll club it together and see how it goes.
Yeah. And another thing that really intrigued me was, at first, Naslin, when he finds out, when Sunny finds out that she is this, he faints. Yeah. Because he's a normal kid, normal guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, what did I just see?
Yeah.
It's like, but then slowly, without pressing too hard on the accelerator, you have a beautiful relationship built between them, which is based on the actions that they do rather than the things that they say. There is no "I love you" or "Why can't you be?" Nothing like that.
Yeah.
But because of what they do, the relationship becomes stronger, which is like things like protecting someone or doing something, or that terrific mass moment where he slides over that bag of blood. Which is like, I'm like, whoa, that just like, it was so fantastic because you don't expect that. Tell me about the writing of those, the relationship between Chandra and Sunny.
So when Dominic pitched this idea of this trio of boys discovering this mysterious woman, I think the way the characterization he had in mind itself was of these ordinary guys, young boys who are kind of aimless, And I think even there, I really appreciate the fact that he didn't try to make one of them like super macho and there's like a whole portrayal of masculinity in the film where I was able to really trip on my background, which is that these are like what you call soft boys, right? They are not hyper masculine, whereas the antagonist is, and they are afraid, they experience emotions differently, and that's also in terms of casting we got the right people on board. Naslin has that vulnerability and that charm and that likability that he brings to the screen.
Oh, the three were amazing.
And their chemistry was so important, and Dominic, the skill that I admire a lot in him is his ability to write dialogue that sounds real. I mean, I may be able to say this is what we need to communicate, but to actually say that the way a normal person would, and to make each character sound distinctive with their lines, that's something that I'm like, how do you do that? Like,
And I never wanted it to be a verbal, this thing. I don't like these cringe lines that come in between characters. So I wanted it to be like felt, the connection to be felt without much lines, about them explaining their affection to each other, stuff like that. So I just wanted to be visually communicated. I think that has what happened. We've used humor a lot to actually show that connection as well.
And I think that's that one scene that I think I'm just particularly proud of in terms of our collaboration, is that the morning after he discovers who she is, she asks him, why did you follow me? And he says, no, like those guys were kidnapping you. So she's like, so? And he says, yeah, so to like save you and like enneo, like, me. So that idea there of this conversation should happen came from me, but the way he wrote the lines made it so funny, because it's an example of subversion, right? It's like not the damsel in distress. So that's the statement there. Like, she doesn't need to be rescued. It's like, I think that's also what all women want. We just want respect. We don't need saviors. We just need respect, and that's the space in which Sunny is, and that's what really connects him to her. Again, like later on, like as the equation builds, and the things that he does are all coming from a place of like sincerity. Even though he may it may not pan out well for him, he's still doing what is right.
To just cut in there, I for me it seemed like he was doing something that social conditioning had taught him that he should do. Because he's not a macho guy. He's not like, I'm this big hero who's used to beating up guys. It's like, oh my God, I think it's the right thing to do. But he's also, Naslin's expression is like shit, but why do I have to do this? Why am I in this situation? Kind of. But that dichotomy is very much there. Like he's, him being a male tells him that he should do this. But he's also like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And that I think was beautiful in that.
That whole sequence is so funny. Like another detail that Dominic added, which I loved in that sequence, is when Sunny takes out his cross.
I think that was Naslin himself.
Oh, really?
He brought, it was not, he had this thing. He was like, why? He did it organically.
Okay, that's like, it's all these little things. So I think that's the thing, when you get really great actors on board, they put in their own stuff, which just adds so much detailing to each scene, and that was really hard. And Naslin as a performer, also because I'm an actor, I was fascinated, being behind the screen and like just watching how they own these characters. He's not just a very spontaneous actor, he's also a very smart actor. Like before each scene, before each shot, he would know what has happened just before, and I would watch him like repeat those lines to himself before Dominic would call action. So it's really nice, that combination, right? Like he knows at what point in the graph his character is without us having to like communicate that to him. He's very aware of that, and that really brings a certain magic to the screen. It's not just the fact that he's so good with comedy and making it so credible and believable, but he's also, I think, somebody who has an innate understanding of the acting process beyond just being spontaneous.
I think, when you see it also, it's not like, it's comic, but it's not like high comedy, it's just the right amount of like lightness in a movie like this. When you decided to set this in a real world, there are different kinds of real you can go to, right? It's like, some people might ask, why does she need to live in a city? Why can't she live in a cave or some forest or something like that? Or, why does she need something as practical as a virus to define this? Why can't it just be magic is magic? Why virus is science? Magic can be just a magic, How did you answer these questions to yourself?
First thing was I wanted it to look and sound as real as possible. I mean, I've had memes coming up like people watching, after watching Loka, looks at his friend and like, are you one of them? So it would be great if people could have that feeling that, oh, these people might be around kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if it is rooted, if it is as real as possible, it would be interesting. That's the initial idea I had. So placing Chandra in a city was the first thing I decided, because I didn't want to place a Yakshi in a rural setting and go to the old thing.
Yeah.
Let's just place her in a metropolitan city where the population is so big. There are a lot of people from all around the place. So it's easier to disappear in a busy street or in a busy place. So that was the initial idea. And then the street they live in, the window, the flats facing each other is lifted easily from Vandaram, because being a big Priyadarsan fan, I wanted something from, I don't know if it's a homage or something, but so that was initially set. I wanted this is going to be the film is going to open like this. I knew that, and then placing it, like I said, placing it in a real this thing, and the virus bit also came later. I mean, she gets infected with a bite from a bat, and it is at that time when this Nipah virus and the COVID thing started to. So I knew that people were aware about. Everybody was aware about this virus infection, so this could instantly connect. I don't have to explain a lot if I just say it's a virus infection. So I think that was all smart choices that we made, so that people could easily connect to and feel like, this could happen. These people might be around, kind of feel.
Darling, mobile உலகின் superstar.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.
Mr. Gold Sunflower Oil. அளவிலும் தரத்திலும் no compromise.